Hey, what's up, everybody? Another great episode of Fourth Person Point of View, baby. And today I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people are talking about. So if you've been following the news, you are aware that Donald Trump has been cleaning house, and he's been cleaning it shit. So usually people make adjustments, but it's very rare that people touch the military. So if you've been following the news, you are aware that Pete Hegseth, who is the newly appointed Secretary of Defense, called General Charles Q. Brown and relieved him of his duties. Now, he also relieved Admiral Lisa, what's her name? Franchetti, along with Lieutenant General James Slife. So that's three people that was relieved of their duties. Now, a lot of people are talking about General Charles Q. Brown because he's only the second African American in U.S. history who's been the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, along with the legendary General Colin Powell. And some of the reasons that they're saying that General Charles Q. Brown was relieved because of his association with DEI. And we all know Donald Trump does not like DEI and wokeism. So they've been also showing a podcast interview where Pete Hegseth talked about how you have to go in and remove certain people who are affiliates of wokeism and DEI. Now, with that being said, where does this mean the military is going? Now, General Charles Q. Brown was the 21st chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He has over 40 years of service in the military, which usually at that level, you have 30 plus, usually. I mean, you pretty much dedicated your life to the military. Now, if you're relieving him for something affiliated with wokeness and diversity, you have to be careful. And I'm speaking as a veteran, because the military is made up of a diverse body of people. You got people from all different backgrounds, religions, and I mean, it is a diverse body. So my biggest concern is, how is this going to affect the military? Because they're watching. And when you make all these sudden changes in your military, I feel, my personal opinion from the fourth person perspective, I feel like you got to be careful, because you don't want to shake up the military, because if they lose focus for a fraction of a second, booyah, you could come under attack. And the enemy is watching. They are. You better believe it. Now, one of the things about General Charles Q. Brown that everybody really wants to say, and so I'm going to go ahead and say it, they want to know if he was relieved because of racism. That's the whole talk. But to President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's defense, they did relieve Admiral Lisa Franchetti, who looks to be like she's not black, she's a female, and Lieutenant General James Slife. He is not African American either. So that kind of removes the racism from it, even though they're not chairman of the Joint Chiefs, which is it's an honor. It's a whole different category. It's a prestigious position, I guess you can say, considering the fact only two black people have held the position. Now, if you remember that the Joint Chiefs was established July 26, 1947 by President Harry S. Truman when he signed the National Security Act into effect. Then he made some amendments in 1949, which basically created the position chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and General Omar Bradley was the first person to serve in that position. Now, that position was created to kind of bring all the branches under one umbrella, if I may say, to like the unify them and have a specific direction. That way, everybody's not doing their own thing. And in the military, you need structure. So the chairman of the Joint Chiefs is the one that advises, like I said, the National Security Council, the Secretary of Defense, and the President. But in that position, he also takes information from all the other branch heads, and I guess he compiles this into, his own little special reports, and he presents it to the president whenever needed. He advises him. Now, my biggest concern myself is, with all this moving around, what effect is this having on them damn troops? And because soldiers are very emotional, trust me. Because everybody is kind of like deer in the headlights, and they want to know if what you're doing is going to affect them. Which, if you was a veteran, you would understand where I'm coming from. Because you got people who are from certain cultures, if I may say. You got people from certain cultures, and they feel if you can relieve certain people for being associated with certain things, it's not really like it's not like a disciplinary relief. No, if you relieved a person for treason, espionage, or selling classified information, working with a foreign entity like China, Russia, I mean, those things are normally what people are relieved from. But when somebody's just relieved just because, that's not a good thing. And it's not a good thing on behalf of that damn force, because that force is emotional. These men and women work together daily. You have all these different backgrounds, holidays, African American, Irish American, Scottish Irish. You got Protestants, you got damn Catholics, a few Jews, not many, but a few. You got Baptists, you got Lutherans, you got Catholic, you got Hispanics. You see where I'm going with this? The military is a diverse group of people. So when you make changes like this, even if you're not going directly into the ranks and pointing out lower enlisted like E5, 6s, and O3s and O4s, they still are on eggshells because this shit's coming too fast. And they're wondering, like, what the hell is going on? Am I next? So what you want to do as a leader, especially when it pertains to the military, is you do not want to goddamn send a false alarm into the ranks, because now everybody's not mission focused and they're not ready because they're watching the goddamn commander-in-chief and secretary of defense trying to see what the hell are they doing and how is it going to affect them. And also, I'm willing to bet you, not many, but a few, you probably got a few people that are in the United States military whose parents or loved ones are being affected by the massive layoff in the federal government. But because quite a few people in the military, they have spouses who work in those federal jobs. Actually, a lot of them are allocated to military spouses and all that good stuff. So you just imagine all these sudden changes just taking place. That could drive your force crazy. You don't want the force to have anxiety. That's not a good thing. So that's my biggest concern. But we have to go deeper because this is fourth person perspective. And for all those people out there who just don't know, everything that President Trump is doing, he has the power to do. And maybe that's what people don't like. He can relieve people. He can. That's the proper term in the military. It's not fired. You get fired from civilian jobs. In the military, you are relieved of your command. So he has the right to relieve people. And I also read an article online that said this was the first time in United States history that a incoming president took office and just decided to relieve a person. Hey, Trump come in, he's outside the box. So, like I said, he has the right to do what he's doing. He does. So, like I said, he relieved a African-American male, white male, and a female. And, they're I hadn't looked at their background. I'm looking at this on the surface. But so you can't throw the race card in there, people, even though DEI is floating around and the damn whole Trump administration has been linking DEI with race. So I know it's kind of almost hard to do. But I heard Pete Hegseth say that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs should be a position that does not focus on diversity at all, which I understand what he's trying to say, but is that possible? Is it possible? In order for that to work, you have to treat everybody fair and as one. If you're treating everybody as one, you can do it. If you're not, it's not going to work because it's going to be looked at as a racial problem, or outside of race, it might be viewed from a religious perspective, or it could be looked at from a position that, hey, this is a woman right here, and she feels like if she works hard, she's not gonna get to a certain position because of her gender. Or if you got an African American man out there, he might look at it the same way, and you might say, well, that really don't matter. They should just worry about themselves. They can't. It's the military. The military is nothing but hey, you know I want to draw on this damn board. Shit. The military, this is the military right here, my friend. That is the United States military. That is it. Ask anybody. You got Trump up here. You got the Secretary of Defense here. And you got the Joint Chiefs. You got the Joint Chiefs of Staff right there. And then this is the chairman. That's the chairman right there. This is the military. So you got to be careful whenever you are. Glad it didn't whistle. Yeah, you got to be careful. When you affect this whole damn hierarchy here, you can get a shock wave of negative bullshit. So you have to be careful about everything you do up here. Because this damn tip right here, where in the military community, Trump is going to be considered the commander-in-chief. That's his military title. So you got the commander-in-chief. You got the Secretary of Defense. Right over here. Hegseth. You got the Secretary of Defense, Hegseth, and you got that damn Joint Chiefs right there. And all this right here, this is men, women, races, religions, culture, you got cultural beliefs, you got age, you got ranks, you got second generation soldiers, third generation soldiers. You got people who are riding the fence that feel like, hey, am I going to lose my job? Last thing you want in that damn military, and don't take my word for it, ask a soldier. Last thing you want in that military is for somebody to feel uncomfortable and they start shutting down on your ass. Because if some people feel like they could lose their job, they'll shut down on your ass and start looking for something else. They will start neglecting their damn duties. It also creates anxiety, depression, which leads to that word we don't want to talk about. I was going to write it, but I'm not. Suicide. You don't want to stir this goddamn pyramid up. No. You don't want people going home arguing with their spouses because they have unnecessary stress. And worst of all, on behalf of the country, this pyramid right here, this pyramid's primary responsibility is readiness. That's it. Readiness. Readiness. What does readiness mean? I'm glad you asked me. Readiness means China attacks the United States. This pyramid here, and this whole pyramid is all branches. Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy. I wish I had a pink mark. I could write Navy up there. They are. I like the Navy. They're cool people. You got Air Force, Army, Marine, Navy, and Space Force. Space Force. And then you got a small group of civilians too. Civilian. So when I say readiness, all those branches right there, keep in mind, all these branches in that little small group of civilians right there, they make up this whole pyramid. Trump is everybody's commander-in-chief in that damn U.S. military, and the civilians, he's their boss, but they report more to Hegseth, the civilian. But last thing you want is this whole goddamn pyramid to break down and start to panic. And if this motherfucker shatters, if it shatters, trust me when I say this shit. Last thing you want out there with all this shit in the White House, the big talk we'll call it, talk, TOC. Last thing you want is all that commotion in the White House to cause this goddamn United States military pyramid to goddamn start shaking with anxiety, depression, and suicide and all that shit. Hey, this motherfucker starts shattering and cracking, and before you know it, your whole goddamn military will be so fucking weak. They're not ready. And if they're not ready, that means they're not war ready. They're not deployable. They can't defend shit because you've mind fucked them. Trust me. Some of you vets out there, you know what I'm saying? And if you've been in the military, you know how emotional some people are, and some people have one-track minds. When there's anxiety and depression in one part of the military, that shit will transfer over. I was a suicide prevention specialist. I understand, I know how one person in that unit could be having problems and they pass that shit off like it's COVID. Trust me. So President Trump, everything he's doing by relieving people, he has that type of authority. He does. But I would recommend to him to think about this and take it slow. Because this goddamn pyramid can't take a shock. This pyramid will get shocked and get fucked. I swear, the whole goddamn pyramid. And you probably never thought about the military from this perspective here. But like I said, all these goddamn branches here consist of this pyramid. And General Charles Q. Brown, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, those 8 bodies there, all these goddamn branches here have a person on that board right there that report directly to him. And trust me, what they do up here is going to affect all those damn generals on that board, whether it's good or bad. They're going to goddamn pass their opinions and their beliefs and their emotions down to every branch. And this goddamn whole pyramid is going to respond in a positive way or a negative way. So what I suggest, take it slow. I mean, what, he been in office 31 days? Take it slow. Take it slow. Because that's what I don't want to see. And I'm gonna do another video on China tomorrow. Because I've been putting two and two together, and I'm thinking, hey, we need to be careful. We need to slow this motherfucker down. Slow it down. You're moving too fast. You're doing too much. This machine here works together. The military is a machine. They have I've been out, I don't know, is it called an MTO? I forgot what the paper's called, forgive me. But you have a document that tells you every position in this military that needs to be filled and what it does. This whole thing works together. If we have to deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan, it ain't no damn one branch that deploy. Baby bits and pieces of all these branches go together to make one thing. Remember that. So last thing you want is this whole goddamn force to be full of depression, anxiety, and uncertainty. So if some of you leaders are watching this, keep an eye on your soldiers. Because you best believe all this shit at the top, which is confusing. It's going to be a lot of confusion. It's going to affect his body. Now, one more thing I wanted to point out too. General Charles Q. Brown was appointed by Biden. That was President Biden's work. And if you also remember, which it proves that this thing goes like this at times, President Trump is the one who nominated General Milley as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Even though General Milley and President Trump are not on good terms now. I think sources say President Trump won his head. And I think they're going to go after him and try to take one of his stars during his retirement, which I think they have a little bit of wiggle room to take that action. But I think he might be protected too. So it'll end up going before a board or Congress. But my point with that was this stuff happens all the time. It's just under this new Trump administration, there's too much going on and too many words creating confusion and shit. Now, when General Milley was nominated in 2018, they wanted to nominate someone else. Let me see who it was. And President Trump is the one who said, hey, no, I want General Milley. And that's how General Milley became the 20th chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, boy. Okay, here it is right here. So it says on December 8th, 2018, Trump announced that he would nominate General Milley to serve as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, although Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis and then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Joseph Dunford favored Air Force Chief of Staff General David L. Goffin for the appointment. So that shows you how this stuff goes at times. You know, people have their picks. People have their favorites. And they put people in there who fit certain agendas. Okay. So, yeah, like I was saying, Trump has the green light to do what he's doing. And I'm sure Pete Higgs says it's not just doing nothing without running about Donald Trump at first. So he's probably running all this by him. I just pray and hope that they think about this whole goddamn force. Yeah, here's what I'm looking at. So they have a guy named Admiral Christopher W. Grady, who is the incumbent. So I guess he's holding down the fort until, did I tell y'all, Lieutenant General John D. Kane. So Lieutenant General John D. Kane retired. When did he retire? Let me see. Let's look that up here. General John. He was an Air Force guy, 3-star general. Okay, let me see if I can find out when he retired. General John D. Kane. Let me see here. When did John D. Here we go. So it says he is retired. When did he retire, though? Okay, they call him Raisin, so his name is General John D. Kane. He is a, let me see here, 3-star. Okay, it says Kane retired in December. It was not immediately clear what it would take to recall him to active duty service so he could go through the Senate confirmation, which there will have to be a Senate confirmation here. Let's get, what day did he retire? General John D. Kane. I'm trying to get an exact date. Retirement. Okay, it doesn't say. It just says he's retired. So Trump's kind of calling him back into office. I looked him up earlier just to check him out. He made Lieutenant General November 3rd, 2021. Oh man. And he graduated from college in 1990 with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics from Virginia Military Institute. And he has a Master of Arts in Air Warfare, American Military University, Charlestown, West Virginia. And he's a pilot too. But, so I juxtapose Lieutenant General John D. Kane's credentials with General Charles Q. Brown's. And General Charles Q. Brown, he has, his credentials on paper are kind of better. He's a engineer with a master's degree in aeronautic. What is it? Bear with me here. Aeronautical science from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, Florida. So, I mean, General Brown also has more flight hours, and his assignments that he had, they're kind of, I think he has more, his assignments for as a leader, they kind of hold a little bit more weight. So him being a 4-star, him being the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, he had the credentials. He did. General John D. Kane, he's got credentials too. His credentials, they're better than Pete Hegseth's by far. But his credentials are, I don't want to shit on him. He's got credentials, but his credentials are not as good as General Charles Q. Brown on paper. Now I know you can, your paper credentials don't necessarily mean you're going to be a good leader. It doesn't. But on paper, he's got, you can pull up his resume on the Air Force website. Just go to, what is it? Go to af.mil. That's af.mil about space us. And you can just type his name in. It pulls up his biography. And you can check out his credentials. And General Charles Q. Brown also was an Air Force guy too, and his credentials on there as well. Usually, but just my opinion, I feel like a lot of times Army and Marine Corps generals should be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And here I go. See, I'm being biased my damn self. See, I'm throwing I'm throwing Army in there because I'm an Army guy. So maybe Trump's got his preferences too. So that's like I said, from the fourth person perspective, people might not like what he's doing, but he's got his reasons behind it. I just care about this goddamn pyramid and think he should slow his roll because we don't want to shock them. I didn't look up General Milley's credentials either, but General Milley went to Princeton. I do know that. And he had great credentials. But also, like I told you earlier, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs does not directly command the combatant forces. He's more of the senior leader of the board of advisors, the Joint Chiefs, and he's the one that goes directly to the President, National Security Council, and the Secretary of Defense. And I was reading earlier, they said the reason they came up with the chairman was because they needed to be unified and have somebody lead them in one direction. Because somehow, when the Joint Chiefs was first created, I guess every general was going his own way. And if you got a bunch of 3- and 4-star generals on a board and you don't put somebody in charge, they're going to pretty much spearhead their own missions and exercises and do it their way. So I think that's one of the biggest things that the chairman does. He brings that whole group together and say, hey, this is what the force as a whole needs to focus on, which makes more sense because regardless of all these different branches, you got to keep this force right here together. You got to keep this force together, and what he says he wants to do, he tells the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of Defense doesn't have to go talk to every goddamn 4-star general down here. He just tells the chairman here, hey, this is what the president wants to do. The president wants to go to Ukraine and do X, Y, and Z. He tells the chairman, and the chairman goes to the board of Joint Chiefs, which has every branch there. So it cuts down on all the damn running around and talking to all these different people. So if you looked at it from that perspective, I guess credentials matter, but they really don't. If that makes sense. I mean, they do matter, of course, but I'm saying he's not commanding the forces. He's he's an advisor. And if you go online and look at the National Security Act of 1947 and the amendments made in 1949, it specifies what the role is. I'll read it to you. Shit. Here we go. Let's look here and see. That's all it says. It just says, I guess General Bradley had something to do with it. Says Bradley put the pressure of the job in perspective in testimony before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in 51. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, in view of their global responsibilities and their perspective with respect to the worldwide strategic situation, are in a better position than any single theater command to assess the risk of general war. Moreover, the Joint Chiefs of Staff are best able to judge our own military resources to meet that risk. And it says Truman signed the amendment to the 1947 National Security Act, which officially created the position of chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to help provide unified direction of the services following World War II to address the growing nuclear Soviet threat. So there you have it. So from that point of view there, I guess that position can kind of sort of be just like the position that Hegseth was appointed for, because he's just an advisor, and most of the things that this chairman is advising the president on, he's getting from that board right there. So he's kind of like a liaison. But I guess just in common military terms, you move up the chain of command to become a general. And this is just one of the perks that you end up getting. So he is a 3-star general. So, I mean, it's not like they just put a Rudy Poo up there. He's a 3-star general, and he was on the path to go in that direction. Now, if you juxtapose his credentials with all the other generals in the Air Force, where does he stand? That'd be a good question right there. That'd be something to look into. Or you can always put another person from another branch as the chairman as well. Because if you go online and look up the chairman of the Joint Chief, you've had pretty much every branch to have somebody in the position. I'm looking now. It looks like most of the guys was Army. Yeah, General Bradley was Army. The second one was Navy. Okay. So it varies. I mean, looks like the majority of them have been Army. Yeah. And the guy who's in comment right now, he's a Navy guy. He's a Navy guy. So, you know, so maybe it's not as bad as we think it is. You know, just a political move Donald Trump made, which he has the green light to, but I'm going to get off here. Tell me what y'all think about it. Be good to know. But, like I said, my biggest concern, you don't want to create too much chaos and confusion, which produces anxiety, depression, and last thing you need in this goddamn pyramid here, that is united. Whether you want to accept it or not, it's if one part of it's confused, depressed, and anxiety, the whole damn thing, and that might spark suicide in the ranks. Just be mindful of that. This has been 4 Person Point of View, baby. I'm out.